We've all had a bad day at work, right? But what happens when that one bad day bleeds into a bad week or even a whole toxic month? There's a very real line where unprofessional behavior actually becomes illegal. The thing is, that line can be super blurry. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to find that line.
I mean, pushed, bitten, bullied? It sounds pretty extreme, doesn't it? But this stuff, it actually happens. You could get shoved in an elevator, or, yeah, even bitten by a coworker during a heated argument. So when things cross that line into physical or just deeply, deeply uncomfortable territory, what are your rights? You might be surprised, but the law is actually very specific here. And knowing those specifics, well, that's your first line of defense. Okay, so before we jump into some wild stories, we first need to get the language right. The law uses really specific labels for different kinds of misconduct, and understanding what they mean is absolutely key to knowing where you stand. Okay, this is probably one of the most important distinctions we're going to talk about, and it changes everything. On one hand, you've got sexual harassment. The law sees this as a civil issue. It's handled, within the workplace system, by HR, that kind of thing. But then you have sexual assault. That is a whole different ballgame. It's a criminal offense. We're talking police, courts, the whole shebang. One is about your job. The other could literally mean jail time. So let's dive into a real-world case to see how that first category, harassment, actually works. To really get a feel for this, let's look at a case from late 2023. It involved a Sydney jeweler, and it's a perfect example of how harassment often isn't just one big dramatic event, but more like a slow burn of actions that just keep escalating. Just look at how this whole thing snowballed. It starts with stuff that, you might try to brush off. Weird gifts, inappropriate comments about how she looks. Then, wham, it gets way more direct. The director tells her he has romantic feelings for her. She says no. But does it stop? Nope. It escalates to unwanted touching, a slap on the buttocks. And the final straw? When she finally builds up the courage to make a formal complaint, she doesn't get an apology or support. She gets threats. And that final aggressive response, that has a legal name. It's called victimization. So what's the price tag for all that, for that entire escalation? Well, it's this: $268,000. That's what the court awarded Ms. Taylor, not just for the harassment, but for the threats and the very real psychological damage she went through. A number like that isn't just compensation. It's a massive warning sign. So what can we learn from this? First, harassment is all about context, the whole picture. A bunch of small things can absolutely add up to an illegally hostile workplace. Second, and this is huge, the employer's response is critical. They can make a bad situation 1,000,000 times worse. And that terrible response, the victimization, is its own separate offense. You can see how the legal trouble for a company can just stack up fast. Okay, but what if things go beyond harassment and turn into an actual physical fight? If you defend yourself at work, can you get fired for it? The answer, you might have guessed, is it depends. Let's look at two cases. One's an elevator push, the other's a mine site brawl, and they could not have ended more differently. All right, check this out. We've got two cases right next to each other. Case one, an employee pushes someone in an elevator, gets fired, and the firing is upheld. Case two, a full-on brawl at a mine site. We're talking someone getting bitten, and that employee gets his job back. How on earth is that possible? Well, the secret isn't in the incident itself. It's all about the evidence and what the investigators could or couldn't prove. In that elevator case, everything came down to one thing: the videotape. The employee swore up and down he just lightly brushed the woman away. But the commission was not having it. Their finding was blunt. His story was plainly at odds with the CCTV footage. The camera showed a clear, deliberate push. His story completely fell apart. Game over. Now let's flip to the mine site case. No video here, so it all rested on the investigator's judgment. And his personal view on self-defense was, to put it mildly, bizarre. He actually said that if you're confronted, quote, you might have to get punched, unfortunately. The commission saw that and basically said, whoa, hold on. They saw it as proof of a totally biased, unfair investigation that completely ignored someone's basic right to self-defense. And this is so important. This is the key takeaway, really. When you're talking about a workplace dispute, the investigation itself can be more important than what actually happened. It's not just about what you did or didn't do. It's about whether the process your employer used to fire you was fair and based on actual solid evidence. A shoddy investigation? That can get a firing thrown right out. It's actually possible for a company to win a legal case, but still completely, spectacularly fail at being decent managers. Let's look at this case from a Toyota dealership. A really simple issue over a dress code was handled so badly, it's become like a textbook example of what not to do. Honestly, this is just a masterclass in making a bad situation worse. A manager sends a memo about an employee's uniform, but doesn't just stop there. He comments on her body proportions and then copies in other managers. When she gets upset, the apology he offers comes with a condition that she silence her. And the cherry on top, ordering her to go buy new pants now. It's just one humiliating moment after another.
So here's the crazy part. The employee ended up resigning, which meant her unfair dismissal claim technically didn't succeed. But the commission still put the company on blast. Their official finding was that the whole thing was poorly handled from start to finish. It's just a perfect reminder that you can win on a legal technicality and still lose, big time, at being a good employer.
All of these cases, they're all pointing towards a really big shift in Australian workplace law. There's a powerful new rule that changes how all employers have to operate. It's called the positive duty. So, what in the world is positive duty? It sounds kind of jargony, but it's actually pretty simple. It means employers can no longer just sit on their hands and wait for a complaint to land on their desk. They are now legally required to be proactive. They have to take real, concrete steps to stop harassment and discrimination before they even start. It completely flips the script from just reacting to problems to actively preventing them. And this is what that prevention actually looks like. It means the people at the top have to lead by example and build the right culture. It means having policies and training that people actually pay attention to. It means actively looking for risks before they blow up into incidents. And maybe most importantly, it means creating a safe and secure way for people to report problems without fear. This isn't just a nice-to-have list anymore. This is the new legal standard. So if you remember one thing from all of this, let it be this. The law is clear. The responsibility is on your employer to be proactive and to keep you safe. It is literally their duty. Which really only leaves one last question, and this one's for you to think about. Is your workplace doing its job?